I'm not raising black children. I'm raising children. I'm not raising black men, I'm raising men. And whether you are black or you are white, no matter what race that you are, there are certain things about being a man and being a good man when it comes to character.
UFC fighter Michael Chandler adopted 2 black babies with his wife, and in a recent interview talking about how he's just going to raise them just like any other kind of baby, it sparked an outrage within the black community for some reason. I sat back, watched everybody and their mom yap and throw in their 2 cents about the situation.
Because I would argue that this is a form of child abuse.
What I wonder is, why are they doing that?
Then I felt obligated to give my opinion, because, I mean, it matters most. No, I'm not playing, it literally does. Because I basically am Michael Chandler's little black baby. Because my 2 white parents adopted me and my sister from birth. I mean, we're not full black, we're 2 funny looking light skins, but it still counts, right? Yeah, it does. So you don't have to wonder what a black kid raised by white parents is gonna be like when they're grown up. He's right here in front of you. A woman's response on TikTok went particularly viral about the situation, and it stirred up a lot of controversy.
Why do white people adopt black children? It's a real question for me. Why do white people adopt black children?
Everybody went to town on this woman for her response, but the truth is, a lot of what she's saying is actually true. The problem is, there's a bigger picture here that everybody seems to be missing out on that I literally had to live through. But I'll explain it to you, so don't worry.
This can be problematic because it ignores the racial and cultural identity of the child. By not acknowledging the child's racial background, you're going to inadvertently neglect certain aspects of their identity, which is black.
She's right. I did miss out a lot on my culture growing up because I had white parents. Because of course, they aren't as familiar with black culture, so it's gonna be different. But my parents tried their hardest from what they knew. For example, I'm black and Hispanic, so my parents put me in basketball and soccer growing up. Stereotypical one may say, okay, fair enough, but it worked. Because that's where I saw most of the kids that looked like me. On the basketball team, I saw mostly black kids, and on the soccer team, I hung out with mostly Hispanic kids. Say what you want about them doing that, but they did a good job at getting me around people that look like me. And it was always funny when my parents would come to my games. Kids in middle school don't know what adoption is, so they would look at my white parents and look at me and just try and add up the math in their head. They'd be like, white parents, black kid, what?
Even though you're raising them, you want to expose them to their own culture. Do you have any black friends?
Okay, so what you're saying is white parents don't have to necessarily know a lot about black culture if they place their black kids around other black kids that can teach them about black culture. Okay, that makes sense, right? It's not really that simple from my experience. It's kind of like communism. It sounds good on paper, but in practice... Because it turns out the black community isn't as accepting as you've been led to believe. Do you know the things I've heard from black people when they find out that my parents are white? The kids on the basketball team, yo, through all their funny as shit. Bro, your parents are white? Yo, you're like their little slave. Bro, you're like literally a house No, but not even a joke. Your parents are white. You're literally a house Now look, I'm all for the jokes if they're funny, right? But they clearly indicated that I was a lot different from them. And they viewed me as such and didn't really allow me into their group. They'd be like,
bro, you can't even relate to our struggle. You got it easy. Your parents are white.
Like, bro, we're both black. You live 3 blocks over from me. And we're just playing basketball anyway. Why does everything have to be political? Can't you just grab my rebound and shut up? But yeah, I was never really welcomed into the black community because of the fact that my parents were white. So instead of telling white parents to put their black kids around other black kids to learn culture, how about you teach your kids to not gatekeep their community from other black kids like me who might not be as cultured as them? So maybe try seeing it from my perspective before you make fun of me for most of my friends being white. Get off my dick. But yo, I'm thinking that basketball might be a genetic thing or something, because even though my parents are white, you watch me hoop, you'd never know. And I learned all the Spanish I know from all the short Hispanic kids fucking hounding me every single time I make a mistake on the field. Adios mío, pendejo! God. They made fun of me for not being able to speak Spanish every day and cursed me out in Spanish. But as badly as they made fun of me, if any person on that other team laid a finger on me, those little short Hispanic kids would have kicked the shit out of them. Because in sports, it doesn't matter your race, your ethnicity. If you're good, you're good. And the other kids on your team will respect you. Even the kids on the basketball team started accepting me when I got nice at ball.
Go to the court, boy.
That's how I earned their respect. And when the black kids first started to accept me, yo, I was so hyped. I tried hard for them to like me so I could stay in that group and be around people who look like me for once in my life. I vividly remember trying to dread my hair. That was a fucking disaster. That's when I figured out my hair just doesn't work like that. I never knew all black hair wasn't the same. This is how fucking uncultured I was. 4C, I didn't know anything about hair. I'm growing up using whatever conditioner and shampoo my mom uses. I'm using my dad's hair gel. In middle school, I'm walking in looking like a fucking mad scientist. This is what happens when you have nobody to teach you about black people stuff. Yeah, I was so happy when those black kids finally let me hang out with them. Then I realized I was trying way too hard to fit in with them, and I grew up and realized I don't need acceptance from no one to feel okay.
How are you going to explain to them when they get treated different in the schools that you put them in? When they get treated different out in society? When they get treated different in the workplace? How are you going to explain that to them?
As much as I want to pull my black card and compete in the Oppression Olympics, I just can't do it. Because I was never really treated negatively because of the color of my skin growing up. And acting like I was would just be disrespectful to my parents who worked hard to get me in a good community like this one. I live in New York and I had it pretty good growing up, man. I mean, we're middle class, but all the white people around me are generally really accepting. And actually, sometimes they're a little too fucking obsessed with diversity, and it's kind of weird. I'm like 90% sure that I've gotten jobs just based on the fact that I'm racially ambiguous. Because look at us, we have diversity, look, black people work here, look how diverse we are, come shop with us. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying racism isn't real, obviously racism is real, but not all black people are subject to it. And that shouldn't offend you. If anything, that's a good thing. Because it definitely wasn't always like that.
A lot of times, white people are not around a lot of black people, right? And so you're only going to have these black children around other white people. And I'm just assuming here, I don't know him personally, but I'm just saying for the most part.
Because my parents are white, I did grow up around mostly white people. And yeah, most of my best friends in the world are white. But to that I would say, who gives a fuck? I'm not gonna lie, as much as I try to look past it, it'll never not annoy me when people my color make fun of me for most of my best friends being white. Way too many times I meet people of my color and this is the case. They'll call me Token from South Park and shit. Oh, all your friends are white. Pfft, you're one of those black guys. I'll never wrap my head around people's weird fixation with race. Like, is that really a factor on how you make your friends? Imagine if I were like, yeah, this guy's cool. I would be friends with him, but skin's a little too white. Like, who gives a fuck? If you're cool or funny or a cute Puerto Rican girl, you can be friends with me. But now that I'm grown up, I have friends of all different colors, a lot of Hispanic and black friends, and even they think it's weird to fixate on race when making friends.
When these children end up growing up, they feel lost in the world and they don't know where they fit in. Because on one side of the spectrum, you really don't fit in with the black population because you've been raised as white even though you are black. Then on the other side of the spectrum, you're around all these white people and they don't 100% accept you because at the end of the day, you're black.
Too black for the white kids, too white for the black. That's a perfect description of my life. And a lot of kids who grew up like me. And yes, like I explained this whole video, it was difficult to fit in a little when I was 12. Isn't it hard for everyone to make friends when they're like 12? And she's saying shit like raised white, raised black. What matters the most is I was raised with good morals because of my parents. Again, it's not that what this woman is saying is wrong, but the perspective she's viewing this situation from is so painfully negative it hurts. I mean, think about it for a second. We're talking about a human life here. Don't you think the matter of race is so minuscule in the grand scheme of things when discussing a child finding a loving family? No? If we're keeping it real, black babies are amongst the least adopted based on statistics, and it's not even close. And no, it's not because of racism, it's because of ignorant people like this shaming people for adopting black babies. Yes, there's going to be a cultural disconnect, that comes with it, we get it. But you can always learn that culture later on in life, like I'm currently doing. But I'd ask you one question. If you don't want white people adopting black babies, then what's the alternative? Would you rather these babies rot away in the foster system than them finding a loving family that just may be a different skin color than them? I guess you'd rather them never find a family, and to me, that's a tragedy. If my parents had the same mindset as you, I wouldn't even be here right now. But it's easy for you to talk about the situation from the outside when it doesn't directly affect you. You sit on TikTok criticizing people who brought in and fucking loved babies who are a product of your community giving them away in the first place. Instead of complaining to your phone, if you got such a problem with it, why don't you adopt some black babies then? Oh wait, you won't, because you don't have nearly enough courage as these parents had and my parents had. I don't think you truly get it. The overwhelming majority of black kids in foster care will never get adopted. Me and these kids are a needle in a haystack situation. So nobody should be shamed for adopting children, man. That's it.
Because by raising them as not black children is going to psychologically mess them up.
I don't know. I think I turned out pretty alright. I guess y'all gotta let me know. But I always think, like, if I had the choice to go back and be raised just like everybody else, I wouldn't want to do it anyway. Thanks for watching.